conceptualized Instagram as like emotional pornography.
Okay.
And I thought that was so interesting and so true.
Yeah. I don't think either are the problem. I think privilege is the problem. I think.
We're just
You're so sarcastic today.
we're just cooking.
Like, I feel like that's like the cyberpunk future that we get. Like, we don't get to be like cyborgs with like cool things that make us jump to stories.
Yeah.
We just get to be like used by AIs to post divisive stuff to make advertisers money kind of thing.
Right.
Like we said, nothing good has happened since 2020, but we're here.
I do think that. I just want to, even my optimistic friends, 2020 just feels like a point where there's just struggle over and over again. If people aren't complete, like we went from thinking we're all going to die to then thinking,
Oh, and COVID, yeah.
yeah, to then thinking there's not enough money. Like in terms of it's like there was pre-COVID where things were kind of expensive. Then COVID happened. We all thought we were going to die. They printed all that cash.
Yeah.
And people came out of COVID and couldn't afford anything.
Yeah.
There's a metric for it that like pre-COVID, the power of $20, and then post-COVID, the power of $20 was like 12.
Yeah, it feels like we went from like mid-stage to late-stage capitalism over COVID.
Yeah, which is terrifying. It's really terrifying, but cue us up.
Okay. So Ryan shared an interesting article with us about how 100 accounts are behind the majority of conspiracy theory content in Canada, which is crazy. And I think a good jumping off point for some interesting discussion about kind of what that means.
It means they're funded by the deep state. Sorry, it's not that show.
QAnon's back, baby.
Yeah,
it's not that show, it's not
no,
that show.
but I think it could be interesting to kind of start the discussion by talking about like more broadly, just like authenticity online and whether we think that's like a thing. Like, do you think that it's like possible to be authentic online in our like current digital landscape?
Not once you're a big platform, I don't think so.
Was there ever authenticity online, or is like the nature of the way that we engage with?
I think that like when
The
Mr.
internet.
Beast first started videos of him just eating things, or like I think there's a video that says he counts to he counted to some ridiculous number. It took him like it took him a long time. I think that was honest.
Okay.
But the moment he became something that could be monetized, special interest comes in because the moment you become a good investment, it's game on. Just like public companies, I've put my money into you because you're a good investment. So yeah, it's still your business. You're still the face. But what does every CEO say? We have to answer to the shareholders. And I think that when you're in media, you're answering to the shareholders. If you're a talking head podcaster, you're trying to make sure that you get a certain audience. And you're trying to make sure that the people who invest money into wanting to advertise or talk to that audience is either funding you or happy with you.
Right.
There's access that you want. So no, I don't think there is total authenticity online in terms of the way people think it is. Because a lot of your favorite podcasts are secretly funded by individual companies with ideas and entities, right? It's no secret that a podcast company will fund, 7 shows of the same ilk. That's not for no reason. I think we have to understand that. And so yeah, I don't look for that level of authenticity, but I think, is it any different than what our news stations were like when they would bend to advertisers?
For sure. But I think like, I'm so curious to hear your guys' perspective on this. Because obviously like I'm a bit younger and grew up on the internet, but like in the early days of YouTube, were you guys on YouTube? Were you like watching people like self-publish videos, or were you on MySpace? Like what was the like internet like during those early
YouTube was weird.
Yeah.
I don't know if they had an algorithm from the start or how they recommended stuff. I think it was just based off of like similar creators. But yeah, YouTube was mostly just like dumb stuff.
Right.
Like I think the first thing I watched on YouTube was a Bo Burnham video back when he was a baby and racist and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think like there was some level of authenticity to early MySpace or Facebook in as much as there can be. Like anywhere where you're just posting a limited amount of yourself, there's like some level of performativeness. But I don't know if it's just nostalgia. I like yearn for the early days of Facebook when it was just like the people that you knew and the stuff that the pictures that were like 30 photos max in an album that they were posting and that kind of stuff. But I think as soon as they added algorithmic content and advertisers and that sort of thing, and that like push for engagement that gets more ads to viewers, then it's really hard to be authentic in any way, especially because you have to cater to what the algorithm wants you to do, which is usually like divisive stuff. And beyond that, like I think it's 51% of the internet right now is bots, and that number is increasing. So like there's very little chance that you're even interacting with a human being a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So how do you find authenticity in that kind of space?
Right. So do you think that it's like, I guess, just the overall model that is like antithetical to anyone being authentic online, just because like you were saying, like engagement like equals ad revenue. And so if that's the model, then of course you're just going to be doing whatever it is to get the engagement to make money so that it's profitable. And then it's like, even with like bots and AI, it's like, yeah, that would be extremely profitable because you have these things that are just like churning out all this content, generating all this income. But then that just feels really sad and scary. Like, especially when you, I don't know, I guess, it's easy to be like wistful and nostalgic about a time where it was just like someone like just posting a 30-person photo dump of like blurry photos of them and their friends or even, just like the things that like draw our attention in now.
Yeah. Well, I do see a near future for social media in which you don't even have human beings. You just have, I mean, they might be proxies, but like generally you just have AIs arguing with AIs in order to boost posts to get engagement, which feels so pointless. Like, what is it doesn't exist for anything. It just exists to make it, like, prints money for itself by generating nothing. And like, I feel like that's like the cyberpunk future that we get. Like, we don't get to be like cyborgs with like cool things that make us jump to stories. We just get to be like used by AIs to post divisive stuff to make advertisers money, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't know how you use social media or like how you get a more sustainable future for it or for the internet, because it's like generally I'm never mad at a company for wanting to make money, because that's what a company exists for. And it's like government's job to regulate how they do that and what they're allowed to do. But they found that human engagement is extremely profitable. And I think it's like the great social experiment of our time that we figured out all the things that make our brain happy and how to manipulate those things. And there's no putting that genie back in the bottle. Like, it's just going to keep accelerating. But I don't know, like, if you get to a point where you have a platform that's literally like a echo chamber for AIs fighting with each other, then like, do they at some point, maybe this is a tangent, but like at some point advertisers, for example, have to realize their ads aren't reaching real human beings. And then it's, I don't know, does it implode at that point?
Right. Like collapse in on itself. That's, I don't know. But then I also think too, it's like people do want things that feel real and authentic, or like, I even think about like Instagram. I don't know, this is kind of tangential and like not really related, but did you guys watch Louis Theroux's new
I haven't yet,
doc about the Manosphere? I thought that was really interesting. And I was like, he was talking about just like Instagram, or just like the current media landscape, and like conceptualized Instagram as like emotional pornography.
Okay.
And I thought that was so interesting and so true.
Yeah.
Like, even when you're like scrolling through, it's like you see a baby being like reunited with like their mother, and then you see something else that like makes you feel something. And so then
hearing for the first time.
Right.
You see a baby dismembered right after that.
Right. Like, it's absolutely insane. And so even with these like 100 accounts that are churning out all of this content that's like inciting these like big emotional reactions from people and like being amplified by the algorithm, I do think that like that just shows that we want we want to feel something, and we want like something to feel like, we want authenticity, and we want things that feel genuine. So maybe it could be like the pendulum swings in the opposite direction, and it's like real, not bought AI content is like a like artisanal good. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, ooh, that's the good stuff.
Right.
And then you kind of just ignore the other stuff as like internet fodder, or maybe people migrate to other apps, because I kind of felt like that about Facebook. Like when it got really crazy with all the ads and like fake posts, I was like, I don't really care. So I think even to your point about like maybe people just stop engaging once that happens, because that's so bleak.
These tech companies are really good though at like going to a second life, right? So I think, again, going to sequencing of thought, I'm assuming that in the offices of Facebook, they looked at the range and the scale of their business and they thought, okay, this is not, people aren't going to stay here. And there was something about them saying, okay, let's acquire WhatsApp and Instagram. I can only imagine what that consciousness was. Because sometimes I literally say, I don't use Facebook anymore, I use Instagram. I think I've said that before. Without realizing it's the same company. Like they got me, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that level of sort of technocratic efficiency, which is probably why I always say I trust the capitalist, as long as humans maintain their appreciation for humanity, we leave a small, maybe they can, but I don't think they could program out of people's appreciation for humanity and at least the sense of authenticity. I think at least the illusion has to get really, really good. And I think, like you see it now with news anchors trying to start their podcasts because people feel like podcasters are authentic. Or you see it with like the streamers, right? You'll look at iShow Speed, Sneeko. These guys are up 10, 20, 30, 40 million dollars, but they'll still do their streams like they're just in their room, like how they first started, right? No concept of a huge house or man, because the illusion still has to feel like the illusion.
Yeah.
See, I totally disagree.
Yeah.
I
thought so.
I think we love propaganda. I think it's extremely satisfying, which is why 100 accounts can make most of the misinformation, because they can churn out crazy stuff and they can amplify it amongst themselves.
But you don't hear more people saying like, is that true? Like you don't see people being like, I just read this thing. Is this true? And like cross-referencing stuff, or you just see people getting ignited by the propaganda.
Yeah. I think because despite the fact that we know what the internet is, we still see, if you see a post that says, Carney set a baby on fire and it has 1,000 likes, like, well, 1,000 people wouldn't like something that was completely false. Yeah. But they do. They would. All the time. Right?
Yeah, they would. And more than half of those would be bots.
Yeah.
To incite the other 500 to be like, well, 500 people did it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how it works. But we, especially if you already have a confirmation bias, we really like stuff that confirms our biases.
We love. I knew I was right. People love that feeling. I knew I was right. I told you, because these conspiracy theories and these 100 accounts have worked over time. They're spreading their ideas all over the place.
Right.
We can have. I'm sure there's other podcasts that will do debates on like who's funding this and why. But are people so unable to resist en masse? Is there no resistance? Is it Borg and resistance is futile? Is it over in your opinion?
I mean, for example, like early studies already show that ChatGPT usage reduces your cognitive function. Like it literally makes you worse at thinking. And the more we rely on these tools and the more we're inundated with all of this propaganda.
I push back on that.
Why?
People said the same thing about the calculator. Every tool is going to make you worse at thinking because it's doing a lot of work for you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is the same as the calculator.
I think because of the like how sycophantic it is,
it's
like
just
that
is. It's the same as a calculator, same as a computer, same as typing.
It's not. The
Any
calculator.
Technological. This is where we're going to disagree. This podcast. This is going to be the clips, guys. Here's the promo. Any new technology is going to reprogram your brain's ability to do the thing the technology is doing for you. Yeah. For example, I would argue I'm probably less efficient at opening a garage door now than I was when I was a kid because I have a garage door opener. I don't mourn my cognitive ability to open a garage door and do the twist and the pull thing.
So the difference,
critical thinking.
For example, if you're using a calculator, you could do that long division by hand, but you are programming the calculator to do the functions of division. You are still thinking through, how do I solve this problem? If you have a complex math problem, with a lot of factors, a calculator doesn't single-handedly solve it for you. It's an assistant. using AI tools essentially removes your requirement of critically thinking through an issue or deciding on a way to solve an issue. But people are doing things like, why did Greece go bankrupt? Or ChatGPT, why did Greece go bankrupt?
What's wrong with that?
Because you are not researching, you are not looking at different sources and putting together information.
I don't know.
Because also what ChatGPT is doing is not giving you the correct answer. It's a problem.
The highest probability.
It's a
Just
probability
like
machine, right?
Yeah.
So it crawls the internet, looks for what it thinks is most probable to
Applicable to
be
your
the
question.
answer to your question, and it regurgitates it. And it's wrong a lot of the time.
Depending on the question. But the only reason, I push back on this, I remember when the first time I was at the mall with my dad and we paid and a kid had to give him change and he got like overwhelmed with how the person couldn't do the change math in his mind.
Mhm.
And like, this is what my problem is, and again, raging against God. Like, don't get me wrong. Yes, there's going to be more people at the convenience store who don't know how to critically think through Greece and stuff. I'm going to argue that those are the people that already weren't critically thinking through Greece. They already weren't going to be involved in the arena the way you want.
But they're not.
There's no critical thinker that's using ChatGPT who's like, you know what? I think I'm not critically thinking anymore.
There are people who like ask ChatGPT to write things that they say to their friends. Or
Yeah, but they're already not curious people. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
that doesn't matter. They would have to. They would be forced.
I
Okay.
would have to push back against that because
course.
I think that it's not fair to say, like, I don't think that it's necessarily the best tool, but I don't think people using ChatGPT are not curious people. Like, I think if you're
letting
typing in
it
these
affect their
prompts,
cognitive
asking all
thinking.
these questions,
I think
it's
if you use
because
ChatGPT, you use ChatGPT, I use ChatGPT. I don't think we're going to come out as net dumber by the end of the year in terms of our ability to problem solve and think.
Scientifically, you are.
Yeah.
No.
You're not letting
Yeah.
it.
No.
Right.
You're not sitting there
It's
like,
just something
take my
that
brain away,
naturally
ChatGPT.
happens.
It
Because
just
I'm
does
not
it.
using ChatGPT for all my thought. I'm sorry I interrupted your point.
That's okay. But yeah, that my point was, I don't think that it's necessarily that these people aren't curious. I think that they are. And I think if they maybe were able to use something that would be a bit more constructive and like conducive to actually
They said the same thing about
critically
Google,
thinking
guys.
through problems or figuring I think the fact that ChatGPT doesn't push back against anything that you input into it is just like antithetical to being able to think
Yes.
critically
They said
about
the same
anything.
thing about Google. It's the same thing. guys.
It's not though.
Same thing.
It's not the same thing as Google.
Because again, Google presents you with a list of information, and then you theoretically, in the proper use case, make your own conclusions or find the most reputable source and base your information off of that.
Mhm.
It's not thinking for you and generating a response,
Mm-hmm.
because that's people take it as gospel, and that's all they use to, they're talking about like crazy LinkedIn people are talking about, you shouldn't be in your interviews like asking about health insurance. You should be asking about your token allowance because you can't do work with a ChatGPT.
I don't know. I find myself just having more faith in people. Because
Why?
I think
What have people done?
what have they done? I think what I'm suggesting is there is a natural cognitive cost of using a tool
Yeah.
that makes more efficient a job that you otherwise would have had to done for yourself. I'm making the argument that that cognitive cost isn't detrimental, because as much as you're like, oh, like when I was in college and I was doing a book report, right? There was some instances where, I would have to go to the library, and it was a more studious and time consuming effort to find all the books and then I think as I got more efficient with my use of the internet, by the time I was in my later years of college, it was just a really smart, effective, and intelligent Google search. Because you know how I didn't have Amazon, so I could read segments of books and then put it together, and the same thing that I could do in the library, I could do from behind my computer screen.
You're still talking about a tool to access a source that then you interpreted into an essay, not a tool to generate an essay.
Yeah, so but that's my point. The people that are using ChatGPT to write entire essays and the people that are using ChatGPT to write entire messages to their friends,
Yeah.
were already cheating the system in some other way. We just now know they're using ChatGPT. I can speak to that when I was back at Shell. Actually, this is a great comparison. When I was back at Shell, you'd give somebody, hey, here's the bullet points. Go write an email. And they give it back to you, and you're touching it 4 or 5 times because this is not their skill. Today, they could take my points and go to ChatGPT,
Right.
and we are more efficiently kicking out an email.
It's funny that you say you have faith in people, but you don't believe in people's ability to improve at a skill by practicing it over time.
I don't believe in people's ability to improve at a skill if they don't really think they should. I think people have to believe in the need for self-improvement to do it. You can't force self-improvement on anybody.
You could fire them, and then they'd have to get good. Like,
I'm surprised you said that.
not in this company, but is it like?
No, because you don't believe in firing, do you?
What do you mean? I don't believe in firing.
You believe in firing? Oh,
Yeah, obviously.
I thought you were like a socialist.
Yeah.
Do socialists not believe in firing anymore?
Just some sort of government program to like help the poor workers in our society.
I believe in government programs. That has nothing to do with firing. Government programs are great when you've been fired. But okay, let me give you a different example.
Okay.
Have you heard of cyborg propaganda? You know what this stuff is?
You've been in a deep part of the internet. He's throwing a lot of stuff out I've never heard of. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, cyborg propaganda is basically the combination of bots and humans. So, for example, Travell's running for office.
Yeah.
I support Travell, so I download this app and I tell the app Travell is my candidate. Then Jade, you hate Travell, so you post something on social media saying how terrible Travell is.
Mm-hmm.
The app sends me, a human being, a message that says like, we need you. So I click on the notification. It takes me to Jade's post, and then AI generates in my voice a comment refuting what Jade has said. I copy and paste it. And theoretically, hopefully, if the app is working well, this happens with hundreds of people. So all of a sudden, Jade's post is bombarded by all of these unique sounding comments about why she's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
People think it's authentic engagement.
Mm-hmm.
So this is happening. These apps exist, and they basically get around bot bans while using AI to achieve the speed that bots have. But in that case, for example, I, as a human being, am not engaging critically with what Jade has written about my candidate. I'm probably not even reading it, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm letting AI generate a rebuttal in my own voice, and I'm posting it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can even imagine a scenario then where Jade's friend also has the same app, but she supports a different candidate. And now we're arguing in the comments, but neither of us are actually reading each other's comments or thinking about it. We're just copying and pasting.
We're talking at each other.
We're talking at each other without even generating the messages
Engaging.
That's also not new. We just found a more efficient way to do that.
What do you mean?
That's not new, dude. People talk at people all the time.
Yes, but
you've been in a college, university debate. You've been in one before. We've all seen people that are just talking at each other. Because we're maybe on the outside saying that's a good point. And the other person doesn't acknowledge, respond, pause, hesitate. They just say something else. That's not new. Your tools are just there to let people be what they were already being. People already talk at each other.
No.
Can you think of any political debate where two leaders were talking, one person made a point and the other guy said, that's a good point. We're going to take that on board. Never. Because people don't do that.
I'm not talking about a televised political debate in which people are...
Televised political debate. People barely compromise in their relationships.
Well, healthy relationships they do. But.
I'm just saying, if you're a closed-minded, I'm not open to hearing what people have to say person, you're just that person. ChatGPT or these AI tools are not making you that person.
Growing up in church, they used to tell us we were planting a seed.
Amen.
And I think if you are arguing with someone on the internet, you at least have the chance of planting a seed. If you are reading what the other person is saying and responding, you might be dogmatically...
You can't change people's mind on the internet.
You can. And people do. And it doesn't happen in the moment. But you definitely can't change a person's mind if you're copying and pasting an AI-generated response to generate engagement.
I'll do the seed thing. Sure, it's the kernel of an idea that will sprout later on. I'll do that with you. Why not?
I'm not saying it doesn't. It's common, but it happens.
No, it's possible.
People change their mind.
But these AI answers are pretty good too.
But no one's reading them because they're copying and pasting them. You're using an app. Sorry.
So would you say that when you are engaging with content online, you're generally skeptical then?
Yes.
And would you say the same?
I'm appropriately skeptical, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think anything's real.
Okay, well, that brings me to my next question.
We were all part of her game the whole time.
She got us.
Is the problem then that there's this normalization of distrust on the internet? So it's the problem is actually that, as opposed to the fact that there's misinformation that's being propagated or amplified by the algorithm.
That feels chicken and egg though, right? Because there's distrust because we know there's misinformation.
But what's more dangerous? What do you think is more? Do you get what I mean?
What's more dangerous is the misinformation.
You think the misinformation is more dangerous than the fact that people generally mistrust information that they see online?
Yeah, because the mistrust isn't universal, right? So the mistrust is not like we all look at everything we see and carry everything we see on the internet with a grain of salt. We reject almost summarily anything that doesn't agree with us and accept wholly things that do. So the mistrust is, if we all had a measured approach to what we saw online, then I think it'd be better. But because we don't, then the information itself is the problem. Because there is a kernel of the internet that will believe the most outrageous thing ever wholeheartedly. They won't approach it with any level of, is this on? Like, is this right? They're just like, I knew it. And then they're doing very dangerous things and operating in society in a very dangerous way. Mm-hmm. So I think the information is still the problem to me.
Okay.
I don't think either are the problem. I think privilege is the problem. I think.
We're just,
You're so sarcastic today.
We're just cooking.
I think we are living relatively such great lives that we have lost the necessity to trust experts or trust people who know the answer. For example, like I am free to say that the FDA is a scam that's poisoning me because it's not. And I'm not going to die of botulism because the FDA prevents me from doing so. I'm free to say that vaccines are a poison because I've never watched my child die of polio.
Right.
Or my cousin or my sister or my brother.
Yeah.
I'm free to say all these things because I live in a free society where the government won't kill me for saying them. I think when you get to a point where we're sort of where we're at, where it feels like politically, socially, nothing really changes. Our lives are comfortable, and the guy who's in the office
doesn't catastrophically
sucks.
kill us or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't kill us, but also everything gets slightly worse. It feels like all the time.
Right.
There becomes no impetus to believe in anything.
That's a really good point, actually. I take back I leave my snaps. Really good point.
Yeah.
Because, that's how empires used to fall. You put in the wrong leader, there'd be like famine, all the money would dry up, people would die. And they'd be like, this guy's a bad idea. Like, you know? But now it's, no matter who we put in.
I don't know that I necessarily agree that that's true. I think, well, obviously, which is great, the three of us sitting here can say that. But I definitely think that there are people like that, you know, are experiencing extreme like mental health crises or addiction and like, but it's true. And it's like their real material impact.
Their brains hurt.
Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to get interesting. I'm sorry.
He's been listening to Patrick Bet-David this morning.
The person that's in charge and I think it's felt most by people that are like most on the fringe of society and that are most vulnerable.
Yes.
But I guess it's good that there's a huge chunk of people that are like, I guess, insulated from the reality of like, no, it actually does have a very real
I'm from the part of the internet. I'm from the part of the internet and upbringing where people say, I don't agree with this.
Okay.
But I've heard dozens of people. I don't have time to be depressed. I had to work. I didn't have the moment to stop and pause. I had to this. And unfortunately, we still exist in a space where people think that some of these mental anguish moments, there's too many people that think it's just like weak mentality or a state of mind. So I agree with your point. I just think it's a nuance that we as humans probably got to get universal around. The thing that we all kind of tangibly lean on is no matter who's in charge, the same amount of food is usually available. The same percentage of homeless is usually there and the same amount of social programming. Like our social program services haven't dried up, for the most part. There's not no money for certain things. But I think if people had life harder, or if there was an immediate response to being woefully wrong online, people would change. Like I grew up in a time where if the guy worked at Walmart, he wasn't going to tell you, look into it, bro. I know what vaccines do. He just wouldn't have done that because he would have known like, I'm not disrespecting anybody who works. So, I have my high school diploma and, I work my job and sure, I take care of my family and I have kids. But I have not studied this for any extended period of time in my life. So I have an opinion, but I don't know. I'm going to go to the doctor. I'm going to hear what he says. The idea that we're now at a time where the guy will spend 4 hours online at night and then go challenge a medical professional that gave it 4 years of their educated life. I agree with him. That's because there's no cost to doing that. There's no cost to doing that. I'm not going to talk about the vaccine thing, but I have friends that make decisions that I think, because I'm a kid that was young and I was born premature. I was going to say kids like advances in modern medicine saved my life. It's always a hard sell for people to come to me and be like, hey, you see those people that saved your life when you were an infant kid and premature? They tried to kill you when they put that vaccine in your arm, buddy. And I know that I was born and my blood cells were trying to kill me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's hard for me to just assume that there's this. It's hard for me to assume. I'm not saying it's impossible. It's hard for me to assume that there's some cabal of medical officials that are like, let's kill him. Like, it's just hard for me to assume that.
Yeah.
Let's kill him and give him autism. That's hard for me to assume. It's hard. It's hard.
Right.
It's so hard. I'm not saying it's not true. And you're right. I haven't looked into it. It's just hard. And I always struggle with people making these claims and they can't tell me why. Okay, why are they doing it? You're so adamant that it's being done. Chemtrail as best. Why? Tell me why. If you can't get me to why, but you're not vaccinating your children, you're taking strong stances. I had a conversation with the guy the other day about the great replacement theory, like how whites are being extinct slowly.
You guys like what?
Tell me about it, guys.
No, it wasn't right. But he was like, yeah, like he goes, don't you see all the Muslims that are going into the UK? All these white countries are being overrun with people that don't look like them. This is an assault on whiteness. And I said, and I'm like, dude, I am Canadian.
Right.
Am I like, you know what I'm saying? Like, should I feel attacked? Because he was like, look what they're doing. Because he didn't know I was Canadian. He said, look what they're doing in Canada. Look what they're doing to London.
But that's
look
so
what they're doing to the US.
Because look what
They're trying to eliminate whites and displace the native population of those places.
It's not native.
Okay. Well, the fact that he cited Canada as an example of displacing the native population because of there being less white people is crazy.
Well, I saw a CBC headline yesterday that was, why are there so many new Islamic schools in Canada? I was like, because there's Islamic people in the country? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, and I don't know why that line's not there. It's almost like they're like, if you accommodate newcomers at all,
right,
then it's an affront. Like for me, I love being Canadian. I love it. I'm so happy I'm from this country. But I also like that I can get jerk chicken.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Canada felt letting the guy with the jerk chicken drum was an affront to maple syrup. They just... Because I'm Canadian, you know, I like that we don't have the whole American assimilation thing. Like, you better come and get on board. Like, I like that I can be, my father's from here, my mother's from here. But yeah, you're right. I love this country. And you know, I love it. Our Olympic conversation. But yeah, I like that I can get my jerk chicken. I like that the people from other countries can go get the food and exist in spaces that remind them of where they came from. Because you're proud of that too. But yeah, and maybe this is wrong. I do enjoy going to Mr. Jerk more than I'd probably like going to the Jerk Drum at the side of Kingston at like 11 p.m. at night with the mosquitoes eating me alive, because I'm Canadian. I don't necessarily want to do it the other way either. But you know, what's wrong with that? Right. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
Okay, let him cook. Yeah, no, that is interesting. I do think about what does it mean to be Canadian, or like what's our national identity? It's like kind of hard to pin down, and almost feels like
I thought it was accepting of multiculturalism.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought being Canadian was.
Mm-hmm. It was once.
We're a land of freedom. I can't remember. Somebody had a quote about this. It's like, we're a free country. Mm-hmm. You come, we are a free country. Mm-hmm. We are socially liberal, which is what allows many people from different walks of life to come here. We're socially liberal. We're very fiscally conservative. And that's who we are. We're Canadians. Mm-hmm. You know,
sheds a tear.
So if we're to close, because I think we've touched on a lot of interesting things here. And it's become a theme, I think, of some of our most recent conversations. There's a trend happening on the internet that I think we think is taking us to an unhuman place. Mm-hmm. Am I correct in thinking is that the thesis? That there's a trend on the internet that's taking us to less and less of a human space. One where we interact with one another honestly, where we have honest interactions on the other side, and it's developing all these things in human diaspora. Yeah. I think I know what you're going to say. I'm so curious what you're going to say. Realistically, is there anything we can do to reverse that? Or is that just inevitable now?
I don't know. I guess I'd like return to what we were saying originally, where it's like, is it something that we ever really had? Or is there just more of an awareness of the mechanism of how these things work? And we're like, hey, that's not real. It's like, but was it ever? Do you know what I mean? And so maybe we are like entering into a new stage of just developing a new form of media literacy now, the same way that, you know, people did with TV and movies and just any other form of like new media. It's just like, yeah, we will necessarily have to engage with it differently and adapt. And that's just kind of the way it goes and the way it works. And I do think though that it does feel bleaker than it ever has, but maybe that's just because of like where we're at just globally.
Where do you sit?
I think there's a couple potential options. I think the platforms themselves, if left unchecked, are antithetical to a human run and a human dominated space. I think you would need governments to get involved and say, have some kind of way that all AI content is watermarked or something, so you can tell, even speech, like if you copy and paste something AI, that it comes with some kind of disclaimer. I know same with like how researchers are trying to find ways to identify bots. They're trying to find ways to identify AI content and put those types of disclaimers on things. Because if you're talking about a media literacy way, I don't think that's possible if you can't tell what's real. And I think AI is getting to a point, like I've been fooled by AI pictures and videos, right? So, and I try to be quite critical of these things. So I think that's one option. The other is collapse. Like I think, you know, what's the saying that capitalism wants to have infinite growth in a finite system? Like eventually you get to a point where you have as much attention as possible, and then the platforms either collapse at that point or turn into something else. But I don't think it's quite like it was before. Like I do think, you know, media has always been influenced by money and power and all these things. But also like, you know, if we take a more broad example, if you go back to like the 50s, right, you're only watching TV for like an hour a day kind of thing. And the rest of the time you're forced to interact with real human beings and stuff like that. So I don't think it's sustainable. I think eventually it either becomes a place that's like entirely dominated by AI and then humans maybe stop seeing the value in it, or we get to a point where that's just the new normal. That's just how we communicate with each other, which I think is very dark, but also very possible.
I really don't know. I'm really taking on both of your answers, which I don't know because yeah, I think there's a measure where a lot of stuff has been not fake, but controlled. Maybe the world is controlled to a name. I was, you know, when I think about, you know, around 9/11, how Fox News from the top down was weaponized to say, hey, this is efficient for us for this reason. So certain messages that we're going to put out are going to help us. When, you know, I think Fox News just had to pay a fine because they just lied about voter register. They're like, you guys are lying about this. But it was efficient for them. Like, man, we're going to get rated. And I remember seeing clips of experts. I've seen it. You know, I saw him leaving with the machine. So, you know, I bringing on guy. Yeah, you know, I was involved in the cover. Like, I'm like, who were all of those people?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that it's always happened. Do you know what I mean? Now it is, again, more efficient. It's happening faster. You got to be more diligent.
Right.
I no longer have, sorry guys, I no longer have faith that the cream is necessarily going to rise to the top. I do think that there's a larger percentage of our population that is conditioned to be tricked and thus controlled and manipulated. I think in the way that they vote in elections, I think people are tricked into how they see issues. I think they've been tricked into who they think represents those issues. And thus, I think they're being tricked into who they think they need to vote for. And I think that all of that smells of special interest. If I'm in business and I need a certain type of person in office, so that I can get what I need, then it's very, I feel like, you know, going into, I don't know that there's going to be an election in the modern world where a world leader doesn't have to have an honest conversation with Elon Musk ever again. And that's scary to me.
Yeah.
Because it's not so much that Elon Musk is creating content that is truth or lie, but it's what you amplify. It's what you make seem as part of the conversation. It's just what you like. You know, he made Tucker Carlson super famous by just saying, interesting, good point, you know? And think of that. That's what our digital world has become. There may never, ever again be, at least in the Western world, a general election where the world leader, whether it be through back channeling or just overtly, doesn't have to at least go talk to Elon and get his endorsement.
And Larry Ellison and Mark Zuckerberg.
All, you know what I'm saying? Wow. You know? Wow.
Yeah.
How do you beat that?
You can make a good point. Like the world's always been run by money and power, but the mechanisms by which they can do it now are so much more
Centralized
and influenceable and fast than they've ever been before.
Because think of it. We can now see it. This is probably my last point. Their issue with TikTok was probably literally Larry Ellison saying, we don't know that guy and I can't control him, so it can't be over here.
Yeah.
It was probably literally that. And he just said it to the right people. Because it's a free-flowing business that had the eyes of massive amounts of people. And he goes, because if I can't call that guy on my own and tell him, hey, we're deciding to flip the switch and send this messaging out, and he can say, dude, who are you? Then he can't be over here.
Yeah.
Because we need to run their eyes. We need to run elections. No way. So they just contrived an entire political apparatus to say you got to sell it to him. So it's just, yeah, it's centralized and it's worried that they're all friends. I think I'd rather if all the techno bros were like against each other.
Okay.
But the idea that they're all friends. Larry Ellison is in good with Thiel. Thiel is in good with Zuckerberg. Ellison's in great with Elon. Elon is in good with Thiel. Dude, they're all friends. Those 5 guys could literally just go on a retreat one day and end the world. I told you, watch Mountain Head.
Yeah.
They literally, if they say, hey guys, you want to be here and just talk about how we destroy all this stuff, they can do it. If 5 guys went haywire, our entire world is done.
You know what's crazy too? In like 2010, all of Silicon Valley was like left wing. Peter Thiel came out and endorsed Trump in 2016, and he was like a pariah.
Wow.
And it has changed.
But you know, mental sequencing, because Peter Thiel was writing a conservative newspaper when he was at Stanford.
Yeah.
He was a college kid saying, oh, you guys seem pretty liberal. Let's change that. At Stanford, in college, he looked around and said, And now we live in a world where he's probably looking around like, got him. I picked the right horses. I bet the right guys. I got the right amount of money. Got him. What are you going to do now?
The Dark Enlightenment is coming.
And with that, this has been another episode of Opposites React. My name is Travell.
Jade.
Ryan.
We hope you enjoyed it. If you like stuff like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. You have no idea how much it helps the channel for us to create more stuff just like this. See you later.
If you like this episode, please subscribe to our feed wherever you get your podcasts, or like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube page.